Hello everyone, my name is Lwazi Shamase. Welcome back to Decoded, where we make complex things simple. I'm joined with my co-host,
Kirsten.
And currently we have our special guest,
Gevano Dantu.
Yes, and we're continuing on our part 2 of our topic of blockchain and cryptocurrency. So, in our last episode, we're just diving into quite extensive examples of blockchain. But like we mentioned earlier in those episodes, we actually mentioned what is cryptocurrencies. So, Kirsten, if you had to take us and the viewers, what is cryptocurrency?
Okay, so I think let's just break it down. So if you haven't watched the previous episode, rather watch the previous episode or listen to it before you listen to this one, because it'll make a lot more sense. So cryptocurrency, there's many different ways that people will describe it, and the reason for that is because of how it's morphed over time. I'll take you through the story of Bitcoin. So back in the day, well, not that far ago, long ago, it was
Yeah,
like
not
in
that far.
2008.
Yeah.
They decided that now, because they had the technology available to make transactions more transparent, hence the blockchain, they wanted to create a currency that could operate on this platform and that could act as a type of digital currency. So what that was is that's when Bitcoin came about. And it would be this currency that didn't have a physical counterpart. So it was a currency that just lives within the blockchain. So it doesn't have a physical coin. And a lot of the time you can see pictures of Bitcoins everywhere. And a lot of people do think that that's what it looks like in real life. It's not. It's actually looks like a long lines of code. That is what your Bitcoin actually looks like in the internet. And from there, that they came up with the idea that this would allow us to have decentralized banking and that we would be able to transact with it. Now, this didn't necessarily go as planned because, as we all know today, Bitcoin is extremely volatile. And because they wanted to have a type of currency that didn't need the banks and didn't need regulation, what happened is obviously now there's a lot of places that try to, well, obviously your government isn't going to like that. So they're going to create regulations around Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as well. So what that means is that the cryptocurrency value is extremely volatile, and that's why now today people are using it more as a form of investment. And that's why some people can kind of compare it to companies or to the stock market, although it does behave in a different sort of manner to the stock market. So you can think of it like that. And what's great about crypto is that it doesn't need a bank. It, like I said, it lives in the blockchain, and there's a lot of places that have actually adopted Bitcoin as their main form of payment. Now, not a lot of people would necessarily want to use Bitcoin as a main form of payment because of its volatility. So if yesterday I paid 0.0001 Bitcoin for my coffee and now today it's 0.0002, because of the volatility of the coin, a lot of people would maybe not want to use it as their main form of transacting. But despite that, a lot of towns today have implemented it, one of which is El Salvador, and we even have one in South Africa called Witwatersrand. And these towns mainly transact using Bitcoin, which is great. Now, we can't just sit on the discussion of Bitcoin and not mention the other coins as well. So as cryptocurrency became more of a thing within the market, we started seeing that there's Bitcoin now and there's a thing called altcoin. So altcoin is just that, it's an alternative coin, anything that is not Bitcoin. So this is all of your other coins, such as your Ethereum, your Solana, and even meme coins as well. So I've pretty much broken it down as best I can. What are your thoughts, Lwazi, on why this is important?
So look, it's very important, and I'll tell you why. So pretty much what you mentioned, it's not regulated. There's no banking or government that's actually going to dictate how to transact with it. And what we like about it, especially cryptocurrency, it's direct transactions. And again, now it's being used as not really an alternative to the traditional currency, but it's actually being used now for investment purposes. And now that you know that it's direct, it's very, and it's fast, secure, as well as cheap as well than the actual traditional currencies. And what we actually like about what cryptocurrency is about, well, should I say why it's important? It's blockchain and crypto go hand in hand. Because remember, they all communicate with each other. And once you have what you mentioned earlier on with cryptocurrency, where it's actually data, not really an actual Bitcoin with that nice B, with those two strokes between the B, it's actually data. And it goes into a blockchain node, into that now, going back to the previous episode, goes into that little block of data. And due to what we discussed yesterday, well, in the previous episode, should I say, it can transact immediately. And you'll see actually your data right there during your transaction immediately. It cuts out the intermediary, again, because it's Bitcoin and it's in a blockchain. So it's very important for investment purposes, very important for the alternative to actually using your traditional currency of your respective country. And also, there's no stricter regulations on that said cryptocurrency. Yeah. And that's why it's very important. And this is why you'll see many people, especially more of your millennials, Gen X, I won't say Gen X, but Gen Z, should I say, leaning more into cryptocurrency than the traditional way of banking. Yeah. So I think that's very important. And now that leads us now to Gevano. How is it actually used, cryptocurrency, in South Africa purposes and in the global perspective, from your perspective and from your experience?
Yeah, so cryptocurrency, it's grown to become an asset class on its own. So with regards to investing principles, it's pretty much general market consensus that individuals allocate about 10% of their portfolios into cryptos. That's just due to the nature of the cryptos, where like Bitcoin itself, it's moved a bit away from like a transacting platform towards like kind of, could you say, the new age gold. So it's like a store of value similar to gold or the yen. And then your altcoins, they are actually more like companies. And this is where there's quite a misunderstanding within the crypto landscape. People think cryptocurrencies are actual like currencies. But if you look on like an accounting basis, there's 25,000 different cryptocurrencies out there, where there's only 180 fiat currencies.
Oh.
So if you're looking at investing into cryptocurrencies, there's multiple ways you can go around it. Firstly, you need to open a wallet. So a wallet is similar to like a bank account. An example is MetaMask. So this wallet has a private key and a public key. Private key is your password. Public key is pretty much your transaction ID. So with this public key, with this wallet, you go onto either a centralized exchange or a decentralized exchange. Centralized exchange is something like Binance or Coinbase, where you can actually buy any of these cryptocurrencies, Bitcoins, altcoins, and this exchange acts like a stockbroker for you, where you get a decentralized exchange like Uniswap, and you can actually do peer-to-peer trading. So I can directly sell Bitcoins to you, and you can directly buy Bitcoins from me. And through this investing landscape, there's also obviously some due diligence that you'll need to do on these cryptos, seeing that they like. So you get coin aggregators like CoinGecko, where people or these cryptocurrency companies post their white papers. So white papers like a business plan, they post a marketing strategy, they post a team strategy, and everything that would be relevant to assess if it's a viable business or not. They post on coin aggregators. So you can use pretty much from your wallet to the exchange to the market research platforms. You can do your due diligence to actually buy the right cryptos. And then obviously, like, YouTube has tons of specialists within this space. And then like the regulation around crypto investing specifically has quite expanded a lot worldwide. It's pretty much only Switzerland that regards cryptocurrencies as a currency. All the other currencies regarded as actual assets.
Okay.
And it's mostly with regards to the tax around the currencies. So within the South African landscape, it's pretty much if you hold the currency for more than 12 months, you pay like capital gains tax on it, so the growth of the currency. If you transact with it regularly, so pretty much within the 12-month span, it falls in your marginal income tax rate. So pretty much your tax rate that you get taxed on monthly or yearly.
So also within a wallet, there's two different types of wallets that you can have. You can have a hot wallet and a cold wallet. So your hot wallet is where your public and your private key are going to sit online. So the way I like to think about it is your public key is like your bank account number. And if I want to get paid by Lwazi, I would give you my bank account number and then you could pay me.
Yes.
But the private key is like my password into FNB or Standard Bank or my bank. Password that I have, that's my private key. So your hot wallet would have both of those sitting somewhere online, which obviously makes it more susceptible to hacking. Whereas your cold wallet would have your private key and your public key sitting on a physical drive, and that could be sitting in your house and it's not connected to the internet. So it's very difficult to hack. But you can have a scenario where this one guy actually did have this scenario. I believe his name was something like James Harlow or something like that. But his girlfriend was spring cleaning and he had 8,000 Bitcoins or something like that on this physical drive, the private key for 8,000 Bitcoins. And she just threw it out into the trash because she thought that this thing had no value. And still to this day, he's going through all of the landfills near his area to find this hard drive.
Shame, man.
Yeah, so it's definitely something to consider if you're going to try and set up a Bitcoin account or something like that. You want to have a look at the different wallet options. Maybe if you don't have someone spring cleaning your apartment, maybe go for the cold wallet.
Cold wallet. No, you're right.
Yeah, so that's a great point, because if you look at the total supply of Bitcoins, it's about 21 million. It's capped at that. But the actual number of supplies currently circulating is about like 18 million, 16 to 18 million, because of everyone that's lost their wallets, their password wallets.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I know a couple of people who've had the cold wallet problem.
Shame, man.
Yeah, so it's definitely something to consider within the space, but also keep in mind that your Bitcoin is, like Gevano said, it is inherently different to your altcoins. And one of the reasons why they call Bitcoin liquid gold, or they call it something like online gold or something, but they call it that because there is a limited number of them available. So you can only mine up to a certain amount, and then that's it. That's all the Bitcoins that exist in the world, and that's what it's going to be transacted. So if you think of it like a finite resource within the stock market as well, you know that Bitcoin will inherently over time gain value. And we've seen this now. I don't know if maybe you guys remember this, but there was a phase where I know for me, everyone was talking about Bitcoin and nobody took the Bitcoin guys seriously. We called them the finance bros. They were talking about the Bitcoins. No one was taking them seriously. And now some of them have literally like retired because they went and
they made their fortune off of that.
Yeah, because no one really bought into the idea of Bitcoin back then. And now it's a major craze and it's completely different. But also how these coins operate within the stock markets are different. So Ethereum, I've noticed personally, is that it's extremely volatile. And especially in the last couple of months, I think specifically September last year was one of the most volatile months for cryptocurrency, because what happened is around that time, China had officially banned cryptocurrencies. So it just created a terrible market sentiment and all of the value went down. Yeah. So that's also something to consider with cryptocurrency is obviously the government isn't going to like this type of currency because they need to catch up now with regulation, right? How do you tax this thing if you can't actually know who's transacting where? A lot of the transactions that are sitting within the blocks are completely anonymous. So if you are involved in any type of fraud or anything like that or bad activities, it is actually quite difficult to track down who exactly made that transaction. So definitely something to consider.
Yeah, very something to consider. And again, transactions with the Bitcoin, whether it be Ethereum and all the alpha mentioned cryptocurrencies. But what's important now, and someone going to ask Gevano now, what platforms, if I want to get into cryptocurrency, how do we get into that? What platforms would you recommend? Because we have nowadays many people saying, okay, guys, I'm a crypto, or what do they call it? Forex trader experts, I'll get your coins, get you rich, all of that. And then, of course, that's where now, again, that's where the dark side is of cryptocurrency. People can pose like they are and they're not. Now, what are secure platforms that I can get into if I want to actually start now investing in cryptocurrency, or make it be an alternative banking for myself?
Lwazi, that's a great question. So it's pretty much your exchanges that you can buy these cryptos from. So you get your central exchanges and your decentralized exchanges. So your central exchanges, to mention, South Africa specifically Luno.
Yeah.
If you're looking international, Binance or Coinbase, those are your central exchanges. So they pretty much act as a stockbroker for you, and you can buy the cryptos directly. Or you get Uniswap, which is a decentralized exchange where you actually buy it from other individuals owning those cryptos. So you don't have a kind of like a stockbroker intermediary. You buy it straight peer to peer. And then with regards to the brokers, worldwide, this industry is expanding within the financial advisory industry, where you actually get crypto brokers.
Okay.
However, that is pretty much where most of the scams come from. Like, the scams don't really come from people buying Bitcoin directly. It comes more from brokers that say, they do arbitrage trading or derivatives or whatever fancy financial instruments on these cryptos. So it is higher risk. For me personally, I do like buying the assets themselves. And so crypto, Binance, Luno, Uniswap.
Nice. And now if I go onto a platform, because I transact, it's always easy to get your money out your account. But let's say I want to now withdraw some of my Luno. I can see that, I'm making quite a lot of Bitcoin or Ethereum. And I just want to maybe get my girlfriend a nice present or something. But I don't want to use my cash. I want to actually use the crypto. How would I withdraw it from a platform, for example, in South Africa's case, Luno? How will I get now back into my account? Or can I directly actually pay from my Luno account?
Yeah, so this stems back to the increase in regulation. Obviously, governments also want their fingers in the pie.
Yeah.
And you pretty much need to cash in your cryptos for fiat. So with regards to Luno, you need to exchange it into your FNB bank account, and that's actually where they get you on the tax.
Tax. Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tax.
And you can. What's nice about the cryptos, if you do international transactions, you don't need to go through the banks and the intermediary and the transaction fees all attached in that vertical chain. You can do straight Bitcoin to Bitcoin, but if it's South Africa in Portugal, they still have to cash it out for euros.
For euros,
yeah.
Which again goes into tax. That's all tax. And do you know the tax percentage in the case of South Africa? Does it vary depending on your amount that you're taking out, or is it fixed tax?
Yeah, so if we're looking at capital gains tax, if you keep it for longer than 12 months, the highest you can pay is about 18%. And if you regularly transact with it, it's your marginal tax rate. So anything between 18 to 45%.
Tax. Ugh. Quite hefty. Hefty. Okay. Yeah, no. I love that actually of cryptocurrency. Yeah.
I also think it's important to highlight what Gevano said there about the possibility of scams. So within the Bitcoin space, there's a lot of scam artists. There are a lot of people that promise things that are not necessarily true. It's a lot better to do your own research. So before you ever decide to make major financial decisions, please go and do your research first. Don't, even this podcast, don't listen to this podcast now and go put your life savings into a Bitcoin or something like that. Go do your own research. And decide for yourself if this is something that would suit your needs. And also, if a pop-up comes up on your web browser that you could get free Bitcoin for doing nothing, it is probably a scam.
Right.
And
Trojan.
you probably shouldn't click that.
Shouldn't click that Trojan horse,
Yes.
and then they'll milk your account and data, and I can
Yeah.
add on to that as
So
well.
be careful out there. Be careful. There's like the world is changing. The way we transact is changing.
Yes.
And make sure that you stay educated and that you know exactly where your money's going. If you are buying these Bitcoins, that you know exactly what is the mechanism behind it.
Right.
And yeah, stay informed.
Stay informed, stay in tune, and as well, like what Kirsten mentioned, guys, we're in a world now where we don't know what's real anymore. So just be careful on that, especially on that front with whole security around cryptocurrency. Be careful, do your research, make sure you're sure of what you're going to transact with your said money into cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And yeah, I'm glad we covered it. So my name is Lwazi Shamase.
I'm Kirsten Lake, and we're joined by our fabulous guest, Gevano Dantu. If you guys enjoyed some of the things that he said today, please go find him on LinkedIn or any of his other platforms. He's the owner of ACC and partner of Vicreen. He does a lot of work on the African carbon coin, ACC. So go check that out. Very cool initiative. And yeah.
Yeah, and these details will be tagged, of course, on the posts on social media so that you can get a hold of him. And yeah, what can we say? He's just got Decoded.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, guys. It's a true privilege.
Thank you, Gevano. No problem. Thanks for joining us.